District monthly meeting is now in session. We are returning from closed session. We have nothing to report. We are now reconvening to the regular meeting. Pledge of Allegiance. Mark, please.
Sure. Place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Director Malloy.
Here.
Director Mishler.
Here.
Director Dixon.
Here.
Director Magner. Here. Chairman Kelly.
I'm here. Amendments to the agenda, anyone?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second.
Director Magner.
Aye.
Director Mishler.
Aye.
Director Malloy.
Aye.
Director Dixon.
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. District highlights. Who's up?
Good evening, Chairman Kelly and members of the board. I am Denise Cleric. I am the recreation specialist that works in the senior center. Tonight, I am presenting the district highlights. We're going to, oops. Nuts. What am I hitting? Yay. Aquatics. So the new summer schedule starts June 16th. There will be recreational swim every day from 1 to 4, along with swim lessons, open swims, and the specialty classes. They are going to have aquatic summer camps. First one in June from the 17th to the 20th is the Pirate Mermaid Camp. This is a treasure-filled camp where they will be doing games, crafts, swimming, and they do have mermaid tails for this camp. The second camp will be the Junior Lifeguard Camp, and that is June 24th through July 11th, and that's where you learn what it takes to be a lifeguard. Swim lessons for the summer session begins on June 17th. We are going to have every day, morning and evening classes, Saturday, and now new are the Sunday lessons. So if you need to take swimming lessons, please sign up today. In the skate park on June 21st, it is National Go Skate Day. This is from 10 to 12 p.m. at Bob Kildee Park. This is a free event, and it is hosted by Revolution Board Company, where they are going to have prizes, games, and music. Camps and classes. If you're interested in becoming a contract instructor or a rec leader, please visit our website, as we are always looking to hire. We have several different types of camps this year, such as soccer, horseback riding, basketball, junior lifeguard, again, the Pirate Mermaid, along with our Lego camps. And always Camp Fantastic, where registration is now open. On June 1st, we had our National Trails Day, where we had over 60 volunteers, because I heard that this morning, that assisted with the trails maintenance that day. Afterwards, participants enjoyed a nature talk, followed by a guided nature hike on the lower trails, which are now open. And on June 13th, there is going to be a stone painting class, so please sign up for this. In the senior services, for the month of July, because 4th of July is on a Thursday, we will be having our lunch on the 11th instead. It will be an Italian-style lunch of linguine with meatballs, and the movie is going to be The Old Man and the Gun. The movie is free, starts at 1 o'clock. The lunch is $5 a person, and you need to pre-register. We do have a Las Vegas excursion that is going in June, and as of today, it is full. So we are still taking names if you're interested to go on our waiting list. On June 11th, we will have our high cap presentation. This is where you can get information on health insurance, claims, and prescriptions for your drugs. And on June 18th, we will have Detective Sheriff Tinoco come out and give a presentation on how to set up a neighborhood watch and on crime prevention. Right now, I would like to say a big thank you to all of our senior volunteers. We cannot do any or half of the programs that we have going without the volunteers. We have volunteers in morning exercise programs, our art group, our bingo, and so many more. So thank you to our volunteers. Moving into special events, we're going to have our first summer concert series performance on Saturday, June 29th at 7:30 at Constitution Park. The band is going to be Upstream, which will be reggae calypso music. We're going to have food trucks on site. If you would like to bring a blanket and chair the day before to save your spot, you're more than welcome to do that. And then in July, we will have our fun-free events every day in July. We actually have our calendar of events in this activity guide. So please look it over, see if there's something that you would like to come down and participate in. In the sports division, we have the adult sports and softball and kickball leagues that started on June 3rd with 60 teams playing at PV Fields and Mission Oaks. We still have basketball leagues that are open until June 10th. So if you'd like to come and play basketball at Monte Vista, please stop by and sign up. Parks. Whoops, hang on a second. Parks. National Trails Day, once again, was at Cam Grove Park. Via Lindo, there was on May 20th. They walked through with 8 contractors for the restroom remodel project, and at Mission Oaks Park, it was actually a rethatching of the outfields, the 3 softball fields, and the dog park. So that covers district highlights. Moving on to District Spotlight. We are going to be highlighting the Mayor of Camarillo Dog Parks. This is in conjunction of the Friends of Camarillo Dog Park. This is a fundraising campaign, and their goal is for $1,000. There is a filing fee of $25 per candidate. The filing period is June 1st to the 15th. The candidates must have a platform, and voting begins on Monday, July 1st at 8 a.m., and there is a 2-term limit. To vote, hang on a second. Mayor's message. Some of the benefits of becoming the mayor, you get to have a mayor's message in the activity guide. You also get a key to the district, and you will be a VIP in the Camarillo Christmas Parade. Voting is online at our Facebook page, or there is a link on our website page that you can then connect to. And then if you would like to meet your favorite canine, there is coffee and canines on Saturday, June 15th at 9 a.m. at Mission Oaks Dog Park, and Saturday, July 13th at Springville Dog Park. So that's our wonderful things happening right now during the summer. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Actually, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Who dreamed up this event? Because it's extremely clever and very fun.
I don't know.
And was it the Friends of Camarillo? Was it their idea to do it, or they just sort of got? It was a joint effort. It was a joint effort. Okay. You know, good ideas you just should take credit for. I mean, yes. Team effort. Team effort. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome. So I'm actually the next person up. So,
Okay, proceed.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Chuck Dunnell. He's our senior volunteer. Hello.
Hello.
So, Chuck began his volunteer service to the senior citizens of Camarillo in 1995. At this time, he began delivering meals to homebound seniors with Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also in 1995, Chuck took over running the bingo program at Leisure Village, which he continues to this day. In 1998 was the year that Chuck was asked to join the callers at the Pleasant Valley Senior Center. Chuck called bingo for our Monday evening program for many years until Jane Robb persuaded him to become our lead volunteer for bingo.
That's the one I got to worry about.
Yes. He is a real asset to keeping our program running smoothly, especially since he knows how to use our bingo machine so proficiently, which you proved today. He is also the chief election officer at Leisure Village for all of the elections since the year 2000. Chuck has an amazing baritone voice. For the past few years, Chuck has been helping at our annual Christmas parade. He will be out on the parade route early in the morning where all of the marching bands are so he can announce who is playing in the annual competition. We have come to depend on Chuck Donnell for so many things related to Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District and Camarillo in general. At this time, I would like to present Mr. Donnell with the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District Volunteer of the Year, Senior Volunteer of the Year. Thank you for everything that you've done. This says Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District Certificate of Appreciation presented to Chuck Donnell, Outstanding Volunteer. The Board of Directors of the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District would like to hereby commend Chuck Donnell as an outstanding volunteer for his efforts and service in the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District Senior Center as lead bingo volunteer and Christmas parade volunteer. This certificate serves to recognize and acknowledge Chuck Donnell's exemplary service in the community and to the district.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and board members, excuse me, I want to thank you for this and hope to continue as much as possible. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's up to the presenter to call for a picture. Okay.
Thank you.
Come up this way, right to here.
You might have to help him.
Make my big feet.
I'd appreciate it. Yeah.
Maybe one more for Chuck.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Good evening.
It's the time reserved for public comment. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, the public is invited to make comments to the board. I don't have any yellow cards. Is there anyone in the audience that has not sent in a yellow card that would like to speak? Please raise your hand if you do. Seeing none and having no cards, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Director Magner,
Aye.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Dixon,
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. We have a public hearing on the agenda tonight. I now declare this meeting open for public hearing to consider the ordering of the improvements and the levy of the proposed assessments. Prior to the conclusion of the hearing, any interested person may file a written protest with the clerk of the board. A written protest shall state all grounds for objection. A protest by a property owner shall contain a description sufficient to identify the property owned by such owner. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak for the ordering of the improvements and the levy of the proposed assessments? If so, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Anyone? Seeing none, are there any members of the public that would like to speak against the ordering of the improvements and the levy of the proposed assessments? Seeing none, I now declare this public hearing closed. Item 9, new items for discussion. Consideration. Wait.
Don't we have to vote on
Oh, I'm
it?
sorry, I didn't even look up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Chairman Kelly, members of the board, this evening I'm going to present the assessment district levy for the fiscal year 1920. Every year I have Jeanette Henson with SCI Engineering Group come down to help with this presentation in case you guys have any questions for the upcoming fiscal year. I'll be introducing her at the completion of this PowerPoint. SCI Consulting Group was hired by the district to put together an assessment for the district to help in our general services with revenue measures, feasibility analysis, special levy administration services, and planning services. They were formed in February and March of 2001 due to the district having limited revenues and a growing community and expanding park acreage. The assessment district was created to improve the park maintenance, fund capital improvement projects, and it was supported by the community by 58.7%. As you can see, from 12-13 to this current fiscal year of 18-19, this is a spreadsheet showing you what the assessment levied, how much was collected, the delinquents, and the amount, the total assessment collected along with the percentage of delinquent for the assessment. The annual renew of the assessment gives us the authority for the landscaping and lighting district of 1972. It provides for installation of maintenance and services. An engineer's report is required, which is what SCI Engineering does for the district. We have a notice of public hearing, which we just had. A ballot proceeding is included in an annual adjustment tied to the CPI for Los Angeles, not to exceed 3%. And the board ultimately decides on the option to increase the CPI. For this current going into 1920, the CPI was at 3.24. We're only allowed to increase it up to 3%. So that's $1.20 for the increase, equating to $41.32 per home. The timeline for this assessment increase in February 6th board meeting, the board directed SCI Engineering to prepare the engineer's report. At the May 1st board meeting, a resolution of intention to levy the continued assessment was approved. At the June 5th board meeting, there was a public hearing, a resolution to approve, and in July, the submission and confirmation of the levies to the county auditor. Year-round property owners inquiries and delinquency. Submission and confirmation of levies to the county auditor will be submitted. This is the map showing the different areas of the assessment district, zones A, B, and C. Those zones are determine the amount of the assessment that's paid based on the benefit that that location receives. So tonight I'm asking that the board approve Resolution 630, approving the engineer's report, confirming the diagram, the assessment, and ordering levy of the assessment for the fiscal year 1920 for the Park Maintenance and Recreation and Improvement District for the Pleasant Valley Rec and Park District. Before you do that, I'd like to bring Jeanette up in case you do have any questions.
Hello, I'm Jeanette with SCI Consulting Group. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
No.
I like your report. I don't have any questions specifically about your report, but a hypothetical in the future, if we put a park in up Santa Rosa Valley or something, which is in a Zone B area or something, do we have to go back and recalculate how much money should that area be moved from B to A, or how does that work? What's that process? If that ever happens, hypothetically.
Well, we would do an engineering analysis to see what, if there's increased proximity to the park, to the property owners, but typically you don't change the zones after the district's formed because that's the amount that the property owners voted on. But we definitely could take another look at it, but I've never seen anybody increase an assessment after the district was formed. I've seen them reduce an assessment after the ballot proceeding, but again, usually you don't increase the amount that a property owner voted on.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. I'm just curious.
Sure.
What, let's assume there's 3 zones. Let's take the middle zone. What is this going to cost the property owner as any increase on their property tax this coming year?
Sure. So for Zone A, it's $1.20 per home for the year.
And so the property owner can expect that they're going to pay $1.20 more in property tax next year due to this assessment.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's not very much.
Nope.
But B and C would be lower.
We can go ahead and do the others too. I just did the middle one just as an example.
Yeah, B and C are lower. I'll have to look that up really quick. I think
50%.
50 and 25 or something.
50%.
That $1.20 was the highest.
yeah, $1.20 is the highest. So in B and C receive lower rates. So yeah, if you look at page 24, Zone B pays 25% of Zone A, and Zone C pays 50%. So 25% of $1.20 would be the increase for Zone B, and then 50% of $1.20 would be the increase for Zone C.
So the increase for some of those zones is going to be 30, 35 cents, something like that?
Yep.
Okay, that again is not very much at all for the services that we provide. Additionally, we're not approving any more taxes without being thoroughly familiar with the subject, and I can assure the public out there that the board is thoroughly familiar with this subject and has done their due diligence and believes that this is in the best interest of the citizens of the district. And I don't have any further questions. Thank you very much.
I move that the board will adopt resolution number 630, approving the engineer's report confirming the diagram and assessment and ordering of levy of assessment for the financial year 2019 through 2020 for the Park Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District for the Pleasant Valley Rec and Park District.
Second.
Director Mishler?
Who's our second? I'm not sure.
I think
Director
I was
Malloy?
louder and faster than Wayne.
We declare that Mark was a little quicker and a little louder.
Okay.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Dixon?
Aye.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Chairman Kelly?
Aye. Next item, we're going to talk about prefabricated restroom facilities at Mel Vincent Park. Who's the presenter?
Yeah, 9A is 9A, Bob.
Where are you going?
You're jumping ahead of
You just really want to
something
don't you?
something we need to stay in business.
Wait a minute. I have, oh,
Yeah, we were on 8A. Now we're on 9A.
well, you know, I can't see even with glasses, so let's see where we are. Consideration and approval of preliminary fiscal year budgets for the general fund, the assessment district, and Quimby expenses.
Chairman Kelly, members of the board, tonight I'm going to present to you and ask you to approve the preliminary budget for fiscal year 1920 for the general fund, the assessment district, and the Quimby funds for Pleasant Valley Rec and Park District. Earlier this month, or I should say in April and May, we had 3 budget workshops, April 25th, May 2nd, and May 16th. During that time, staff brought before you our 1920 budget. It was discussed, and the numbers were determined that the board was happy with the numbers that we're presenting this evening. It is a balanced budget for a general fund, the assessment district, and the park dedication fees, which is Quimby. That budget is expenses only, as we do not know what type of Quimby fees we're going to be receiving throughout the fiscal year. Our 1920 capital investment for the year will be $464,000, and our Quimby projects equate to $500,000. A little bit of background of this. We continue to focus on enhancing our investments in community facilities and recreation programs. We're sustained progress toward meeting reserve guidelines and fiscal accountability, and the district continues to serve over 77,000 constituents. The district consists of 3 departments: administration, recreation, and parks. Within admin, there's finance, customer service, the foundation, human resources, and IT. Recreation consists of aquatics, sports, camps, classes, senior services, special events, and marketing. Parks consist of park ranger, facility maintenance and operations, capital improvement, and program support. Some of the funds for Fund 10, that is the resources that are most common for the district. It has property tax, program fees, rental, and grants. Those are our primary sources of revenue. For Fund 20 was the assessment, which was the assessment tax that was just presented to you. And Fund 30 would be the developer fees. Some of the district accomplishments for fiscal year 18-19 was we evaluated programs, operational and staffing expenses, and identified cost-saving opportunities for each area of recreation. We're on track to complete almost $784,000 in capital improvements. We're on track to complete almost 1.996 in Quimby projects, and the foundation increased its Party for the Parks revenue by 14%. Some of our challenges that we had during 18-19 was a growing demand for parks and facilities, the Hill Fire, and state legislation. Some of the other cost challenges that we had was our CalPERS unfunded liability, healthcare, the minimum wage increase, and utilities. The preliminary budget for fiscal year 1920 for general fund shows revenues of $8.2 million with expenses of $8.1, with revenue exceeding expenses by $29,200. We have $964,000 total in capital and Quimby fee projects. This will give you an idea of what our last 4 years' actuals look like, starting with 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18. Blue depicts revenue, and yellow is expenses. These are our general fund budget comparisons for the current year of 18-19 versus the next year of 19-20, 18-19 being in orange, 19-20 being in blue. This is our staffing spreadsheet. As you can see, we have 42 of full-time and part-time year-round staffing, with 10 being in admin, 10 being in rec, and 22 being in parks and assessment district. Some of our changes for Fund 10 for our personnel expense was we're adding 1 administrative analyst position. We reclassed 1 part-time year-round recreational specialist to full-time rec specialist. And we moved a part-time year-round staff line item or anyone that was in part-time year-round, we moved them to line 6100. They used to be in the part-time wages. We moved them to the full-time wages line item. Some of our revenue changes, we had an increase in public fees. We had an increase of property tax, an increase in our interest earnings. We had a decrease in our rental. Some of that's due to the hill fire that we had to close down Cam Grove Park for a period of time. And we had a decrease in the ROPS. And again, as I have said since I've been employed here, I'm very conservative on what I budget for the ROPS because that's a moving target. We've been lucky the last couple of years. I've always had to do a mid-year budget adjustment going up. So I'm hoping that happens come January, that I have to increase that budget to go up again. Some of our personnel expense changes is we've continued to make the minimum payment in our CalPERS unfunded liability for the 2.5 at 55 plan. We've been able to pay off the last year, and we'll be able to do it this year, our 2 at 60 and our 2 at 62 plan. Our workers' comp is going to decrease about $40,000, and our medical insurance will decrease about $53,000. Our services and supplies changes for Fund 10. Account number 6540 was replaced with account 6230. That was just so that we would have everything grouped together more in line and it flowed better. Account 6990 was replaced with account 6240 for computer hardware and software, and again, it was just so everything would be grouped together. Our collection fees increased by $59,000. Our liability insurance increased by $32,000. Our business services decreased by $26,000. And in Department 520, which is our grant department, we're budgeting $15,000 for professional services. Going on to our capital projects. This slide depicts what we've done actually in 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18. That is in the blue. That's what the districts actually spent on capital projects. And the orange is what we budgeted for 18-19, and then the far right, 19-20. So you can see how we're continuing to spend money as far as improving the parks and our facilities and keeping everything up to par. Here is a preliminary capital improvement project spreadsheet that's showing what we hope to do for 19-20. We've got the Freedom Park parking lot, PV fields, the lamp poles and replacement at Mission Oaks, the LED lighting at the tennis courts, 2 fleet vehicles, Charter Oak irrigation, and a community center marquee. We have 2 other projects that we're going to bring to you at mid-year. That would be the community center kitchen and the Freedom Center remediation. Those total $464,000. Here's a picture to depict what we're going to be doing this upcoming year. Freedom Park lot and the Skyway Drive. Here's the Pleasant Valley Fields, the building. Mission Oaks light poles and the lighting. The fleet replacement, we hope to get a couple of pickups. Charter Oak doing irrigation project at that park. And replacing the community center marquee. Moving on to the Quimby Fund project. These are some preliminary projects that we hope to do for 19-20, and we right now only have one, and that is the shower and restrooms at the Aquatic Center. Mid-year, we'll be bringing back the Freedom Center remodel for ADA restrooms, the Camarillo Grove upper restroom for ADA compliance, the master plan for Arneal Ranch Park, and the community center kitchen at mid-year. This is the project for the showers at the pool. Now moving on to the assessment district. It was formed in 2001 due to limited revenues, and we were having future funding shortfall. It was created to improve park maintenance and fund capital improvement projects. Fund 20 was formed in fiscal year 15-16. Prior to that, it had been in Fund 10. And when we got our new accounting software, the auditors asked if we could create a new fund to keep the funding separate. The assessment rate adjustment for fiscal year 19-20 is going up 3%, excuse me, equating to $1.20 per benefit, and that will equate to $41.32. Here is our budget comparison, 1819 being in the blue and 1920 being in the yellow. You have your revenue, personnel, services and supplies, and your total expenses. This evening, I'm asking that the board approve the preliminary fiscal year 1920 general fund assessment and Quimby budgets. Any questions?
None.
Well, we discussed this for 4 meetings, so we've seen these numbers, again and again and again. One of the things that I think is worth noting here is water is a major expense of ours. Water is almost 10% of our Fund 10 budget, and this year we're way underspending on water because we've had a lot of rain and we haven't had to buy water, including this month. Even some of that rain we had the last few weeks actually saved us irrigation. So we're a little over $100,000 under budget, but we're budgeting next year based on the fact that the water rates are going up slightly, and we can't bet on the fact that we're going to have rain. So this year's results are unusually positive for us, and that's one of the things you got to look at is what's different about this year versus what you have next year. So we're well covered, and this year's surplus is going to help us as we get to our mid-year and we're able to make adjustments. This year's surplus is going to help us, but overall the numbers are a lot better and a lot easier this year. Another thing I'd like to comment on is we budgeted very conservatively on property tax increase. The city of Camarillo has budgeted 4.5% property tax increase, which to me is extremely aggressive. And we talked about this a lot in our meetings, but we all remember about 8 years ago when the property tax came in at $500,000 under what we had estimated. And it caused major problems for the district and forced us to do some things we really didn't enjoy doing and our staff didn't enjoy having done. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep being conservative and keep making sure that we don't plan to do more than we know we can do and not get ourselves in the bind that we got in being aggressive. That's all I have.
Anyone interested in coming to our budget workshop meetings? They're held every year. They can be fairly intense. Bring a lunch. They can go for hours, and there's a lot of discussion, some of which you may appreciate and some of which may be a little bit boring. But I can tell you that the members of this board take the budget very seriously and do their best to make sure they spend the district's money and your tax dollars wisely. Now we're going to talk about some bathrooms.
No, we got to have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did it again.
Let me make a motion to approve the preliminary fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
Second.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Dixon,
Aye.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Director Magner,
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. Now we can talk about the bathrooms.
You've been waiting for this.
Good evening.
I get more.
Yes, now we are going to talk about some bathrooms.
I get more calls on the bathrooms at Mel Vinson and Valley Lindo than any other subject.
Well, here we go.
And so my wife is at home waiting right now to watch this.
Here we go. We're going to kick off with Mel Vincent Park, which
All
was
right.
built by Comstock Homes as part of the developer requirements for the Springville housing development. So as part of the 2018-2019 budget process, the board provided staff with direction to investigate the cost, location, and installing of a prefab bathroom at Mel Vincent Park. So during the development of the Parks Department's budget, the board had directed staff to explore park options and to add a prefab restroom. This park was opened in spring of 2017 as a 5-acre park. And it was designed with several amenities, pavilion that holds up to 30 people, 4 individual picnic areas throughout the park, 2 playgrounds for different age groups, and a really nice fitness area down in the corner. It has a walking path and a unique basketball court with 4 courts on there, so go check it out. It's really nice. So during the construction phase, Park had contacted Comstock to request that the developer stub up utilities just in case for future restrooms if the need arose. At the January 2nd, 2019 board meeting, staff presented two options for the prefab restroom building. Option one was 8 foot by 12 foot building with a single stall, and that would accommodate up to about 45 people per hour. Option two was 8 by 18 foot, and this one would accommodate up to 90 people, and it has two stalls. Excuse me, two separate restrooms. So on April 3rd, 2019, the Board of Directors approved the specifications for the prefab restroom facility. We sent out an RFP, request for proposal was sent on April 8, 2019. The bids closed May 8th. Only one bid was submitted. However, we did have several calls. They just did not meet the criteria of the bid specifications. So prefab restroom building specialist will provide the district a final building design, architectural drawings, and engineering calculations. The designer will supply, construct, build off-site, so the building will come in two pieces, loaded off a truck and installed right on a 10 by 20 concrete pad. Once approved, it will take the vendor approximately 2 months to build it and ship it and install. So in about 2 months, we'll have turnkey restroom up and running. And there's a picture of it. So it's almost identical to the one at Bob Kildee, the newer one at Bob Kildee, of course, smaller in size. So the building aid is made of CMU, which is concrete blocks or bricks. The roofing material will be standing seam metal, and we'll try to match the closest we can to the existing pavilion color. Funding for this project will come from the fiscal year 2018-2019 Quimby funds. Funding of $135 was allocated for this project, with the bid coming in at $127,227. Additional funding for city permits, soil tests, utility cost will run roughly around $4,500 and bring the total to $131,727. And the district Quimby funds currently has sufficient funds of $5,698,640 to pay for this project. So it is recommended that the board approve and authorize the general manager to enter into agreement with Public Restroom Company for this portable restroom building located at Mel Vincent Park. And with that, is there any questions I can answer?
Yeah, I have one. Do you have a picture of the map that you have in the?
You know what? Is there? No. You know what?
Packet?
No, there isn't. I apologize for that. It's so if you can picture coming in, it'll be if you're turning into the parking lot, it'll be I guess on the
North or left?
northeastern side of the parking lot, right in the planter bed. So that's where we stubbed up, and that's preliminary where we're thinking about putting it. So and that's most likely where to be because our utilities are there. So we don't, that's where they stubbed up, and that's where it was designed to go.
You should mention, I guess, that it's not going to be in the parking lot. It's going to be off.
No, it'll be off to the side.
Right. Just for people who don't have a map.
The stalls will be facing towards the playground.
Okay. Let me just also mention that this will have the same policy as all our restrooms in that.
Absolutely.
That they'll be open in the morning and they're closed at sunset.
Yep.
I talked to a lot of the people. I've talked to several of the people who live around that park, and they're newer residents to Camarillo and didn't know about our policy. Some people thought the restrooms are open all night, and they were very concerned.
Yeah,
about
and I've had that same conversation. So once I assured them that no, they're going to be and they're serviced. We're there 2-3 times a day once with the restrooms being built, and we're servicing them, we're checking on them, and we open and close them every single day, including holidays.
So my question was, that I didn't get to, based on not having the picture, is it looks like you have to walk across the grass to get to the restroom. Are we going to extend the sidewalk out?
That's definitely an option we'll look at. We'll see if there's wear paths first, or we may just go ahead and put it. It depends how far out it comes, because there definitely would the option to tie in right to the existing walkway, so you're not walking across.
Well, it looks like you have a mow curb there.
There's a mow curb there, and that would most likely part of that would come out. So we'll just run a 6-foot concrete walkway all the way up to it.
Okay, that's all I had.
Now, Doc, it's your turn.
Actually, I had that same question, but the other question I had is I'm assuming the entrance to these bathrooms is facing toward the playground and the.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
You have any more, Mike? Elaine?
Nick, what would be the approximate time line on this?
If it's all approved tonight, I will be in the office first thing in the morning, emailing them and sending over the signed contract. So it just so happens they actually have a prefab building that was the same as ours, a slight difference, and the company canceled on them. So it was going to be 6 months, I believe. So we've moved that up exponentially. So we're looking at around 2 months turnkey.
And a discount, right?
That I don't think so, but I will actually double check.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Public Restroom Company for the portable restroom building located at Mel Vincent Park.
Second.
Director Magner,
Aye.
Director Dixon,
Aye.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. Another bathroom issue. Valley Lindo Restaurants Remodel Project.
Well, good evening again. Tonight, we're going to move on to Valle Lindo. So the board appropriated Quibi funds in the amount of $425,000 to design and remodel the existing restrooms at Valle Lindo Park. Leach Mounts Architects has designed plans to retrofit the existing buildings. The low bidder for this project was United Construction and Landscape. On October 3rd, 2018, the board approved the request for proposal for the architectural design for the Valle Lindo restroom remodel. At the December 6, 2018 board meeting, staff asked the board to approve the select architect to design and draw construction plans for Valle Lindo restrooms. On February 6, 2019, the architect plans were presented to the district board. The board approved the design. However, that's the request where we wanted to change. Instead of the one urinal, we couldn't fit more because of ADA, so we went with a trough. So he was able to fit that trough in and still meet all our ADA requirements. On March 6, 2019, the board approved the bid specs for the remodeling of the restrooms at Valle Lindo. So the design plans are as follows. The women's restrooms will have 3 toilets, a sink, 3 toilet stalls, a sink, and a changing table. The men's restroom will have 1 toilet and a trough, urinal, a sink, and also a changing table. And the exterior building will sandblast that to bring back the natural look of the stone rock there. It's a split face, so it's really nice. So, and then we'll come back and put a clear coat for if we ever get graffiti, it'll come off and won't stain. And the pavilion will have 2x6 lumber added for shade over the pavilion. At the May 1st, 2019 board meeting, staff asked the board to reject all bids. If you remember, the bids came in quite a bit higher than we were anticipating. We sat down with the architect and looked at ways we could, why they came in so high, number one, over his expectations. So we looked at some of the scope of work, and we were able to remove some of the tile, which took out a big chunk of that overhead. We changed some of the specs for the pavilion. We changed from aluminum to wood, and then we asked to clarify some stucco repair, and these updates did result in lower bids. Staff held a mandatory job walk after we rejected the bid, so that was held on May 20th, 2019. 8 contractors showed up, 7 generals and 1 electrical contractor. Excuse me. Bids were due May 24th. We received 5 bids in total, and the bids range from $342,560 to $462,700. The engineer's estimate for this project was $269,700 plus a 15% contingency of $40,455 for a total construction cost of $310,155. The architect's fees were $59,850 for a total estimated project cost of $370,005. United Construction and Landscape final bid included the bid alternate to include the aluminum. So if we do choose to go with the aluminum, that'll be the price there, $342,650. Should the board decide to eliminate the aluminum and just go with the wood, we would be at $313,950. And here's a list of all the vendors and their bid amounts. So the contract award hopefully will be this evening. Approximate start date will be July 1st with the completion date of September 30th. Funding for this project will come from fiscal year 2018-2019 Quimby funds. Total expense breakdown is United Construction Landscape, cost of $313,950 for the project with a 10% contingency of $31,395 plus the architect's fees of $559,850 for a total cost of the project will be $405,195. The district Quimby funds does have currently have $5,325,061. And it is recommended that Board of Directors approve the bid and award the project to United Construction for the amount of $313,950 plus a contingency to bring the total to $300,045,345. And, oh, I thought there were some pictures in there. So that's it. Is there any questions?
Tell me why we would or wouldn't spend $28,000 for aluminum.
The aluminum wood, it's a lot easier to change. So if there is problems, we don't know, somebody getting up, aluminum's a lot softer, than steel. So if there is damage, we're going to be looking at repairing. Just the upkeep, it doesn't hold paint as well as wood. You're going to have maintenance on either one we put. Wood, in my opinion, is easier to maintain than the aluminum. And when we do go to change it out, it is more cost effective.
Which one's more cost effective?
The wood.
The wood.
Because the aluminum's sort of a custom.
It's a custom, but aluminum's a lot softer. If somebody gets up there and say they run across it, heaven forbid, and they damage it. If it was steel, it might be a different story, but it called for aluminum, which is a less dense material.
Okay, well, I'm always okay with spending less. So, and it also sounds like a safety issue too, as well as the maintenance costs. And it's not if someone will run on top of our buildings, it's when.
When, yeah. So. And I do have a gentleman from United Construction Indica I'd like to bring up and introduce to the board.
Oh, great.
So if you have any questions for him as well.
Hello, good morning, good evening, everybody. And my name is Indika Jayaratna, and from United Construction and Landscape. Do you have any questions?
Do you have anything further, Mark?
You want to address the same question that I gave Nick? Your feelings as aluminum rather than wood?
Yes, I also recommended goes with the wood.
You're my kind of contractor. Thank you. That's all I have.
Got anything?
Yeah. On the recommendation where there's a 10% contingency fee, and maybe I can ask Nick this first. It's in your experience on these kinds of projects when there's a contingency fee built in, what is your experience with the utilization of the contingency fee? Is it most often used, not often used, partially used?
That's kind of each project's unique in itself. We put that in there to cover ourselves in case there's something doesn't. Once you get into construction, especially breaking down walls, you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
So we're doing that as a padding to cover any unforeseen items that might come up.
So as a project proceeds as envisioned, then we would not see that
That is correct.
that funding used. It's only if there's some surprise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So just to kind of show the project out at Freedom,
When we were dealing with the lights, we ended up with a couple items, change orders, which were less, I think it was about 2% instead of, we didn't have to use it all. And right now with the project for all the landscaping and stuff, I don't think we've had any change orders to date, and we put a 10% in there. So it really just depends on project. It just leaves a little buffer if there is something we need to deal with, that we don't have to come stop the project, come back to the board.
No questions.
Nick, what kind of sealant are you going to use on the wall after you sand?
You know, I'm not exactly sure. It's a water-based, and it's through a company through Australia that we've been using this product, and it seems to work. Their graffiti removal is phenomenal. I mean, you take it off we've had graffiti at a few of the parks that have, at Locker Park, as a matter of fact. You cannot see the paint that's on there. You can't see, usually you get that, you still see the hazing after pressure washing, or you see the pressure wash marks. You don't even need a pressure washer when you're using this. It just dissolves the paint, and you can use a hose, and it comes right off, and it's eco-friendly.
How many coats do you usually put on?
One or two, and then over time, as it starts to wear, we'll continue. And trust me, we will continue putting it on there.
Well, once you sandblast it, you open up the grain of...
Oh, yeah. So it's very porous, and it'll suck right in. We'll probably have to do 3 or 4 coats just because of that very reason.
Okay, sounds like a good deal for the people who come to Valley Lindo Park. I know that a lot of people that are going to be happy about this project.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I don't have anything else.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid and award the project to United Construction and Landscape Incorporated for $313,950 plus a 10% contingency for a total project cost of $345,345.
Do you want to mention that we're using wood?
Was the original bid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Dixon?
Aye.
Chairman Kelly?
Aye.
Thank you.
D. We're going to be talking about a legislative advocacy policy tonight for members of the publics.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Anthony Miller, Administrative Analyst, presenting to you a legislative advocacy policy for your review tonight. So a little background and summary here. The staff was requested to develop a legislative advocacy policy to expedite district responses to proposed legislation in Sacramento. Staff has met and conferred with the policy committee to develop this policy and is recommending that the board review and approve the proposed policy in your packets. A little bit of background as to why the staff was asked to consider this. The California State Assembly was considering ACA 1, which would have lowered the voter, or which will, if passed, lower the voter approval threshold to 55% from 2/3 for specific general obligation bonds for city and county governments. The California Special Districts Association, of which the district is a member, requested that special districts write a letter of support with changes made to include local agencies, so that special districts would also be included in this proposed measure. Specifically, the reason why we're considering this policy today is because CSD requested these letters in March of 2019, and due to the board meeting schedule, due to the district's board schedule, Pleasant Valley Arc Park could not respond prior to that deadline. CSDA deadlines are driven by the state's legislative calendar, and while the PVRPD board did approve a letter of support at the May meeting, it did miss the initial deadline. After which the staff was requested to develop a policy by which the general manager could submit letters of support or opposition prior to board approval. And in order to do that, the staff has brought this policy in your packets to the policy committee to discuss ways by which the general manager could submit those letters. So items that were considered by the staff was the fact that the district is prohibited by law by financially supporting or opposing political causes, and that's pretty well established in the government code, as well as been through a legal test as well in Stanson versus Mott in 1976. However, the district can advocate for and against legislative actions that affect the district itself. Additionally, certain times are more effective for lobbying California legislators due to their calendar. And the primary issue lays with our particular board meeting calendar, and that doesn't always line up with the state's legislative calendar. Staff analyzed the SDA's sample policy and the city of Camarillo for reference in regards to how they address legislative issues, and determined that certain advocacy priorities, similar to the CSDA policy recommendation, could be effective for the Park District. So with consultation with the policy committee, staff customized those advocacy priorities to fit district needs, and then laid out a procedure by which the general manager could assume a position of support or opposition based on those priorities. The general manager will be allowed to speak for the board according to this policy if the letters of support or opposition are requested, the topic aligns with a listed advocacy priority, or is consistent with the views of an organization which the district is a member, such as CSDA and CARPD, or the position is approved by the board. If that is a little redundant. If the position is approved by the board, of course, the general manager would be able to take that position, but we wanted to write it in there to make sure that that all kind of avenues were considered. There are a couple of exceptions to which the district general manager would not be able to take a position. And one exception is that any legislation considered by the state of California which would potentially increase taxation or create new taxes must be reviewed by the full board. And, quote, letters of concern can be written by the general manager which do not take a formal position at any time. There is no direct fiscal impact to the district associated with this policy, and staff is recommending that the board of directors approve the legislative advocacy policy as reviewed and approved by the policy committee. Any questions?
I'd like to hear from the policy committee.
I'd like to make a clarification. I have talked to Mary for probably going on 2 years. ACA did not trigger the thing. I've been talking to her about that we needed to be supporting CSDA when there are positions up there that we have a direct concern about, either opposition or in support of. And we had really kind of waited for to get information from other districts and things to see how they were handling it. The ACA one I think has been misunderstood by some of our board members. It did pass 3-2, but I think not knowing exactly what goes on up in Sacramento and how CSDA sits at the table with the League of Cities and the counties, I think it's very important for us to have a position. And not on everything. Of course, there's 1,800 bills sitting up there. There's no way that but things that definitely would have an impact on us or will impact negatively or positively on sister districts and things like that. We go up there once a year. Mary and I were up there a couple weeks ago. We talked with the legislative people and their staff. We need to support or oppose, and we can do that individually, but I think as an organization that we need to really be at the table showing our support and things, because if we've got something up there that we're very supportive of and it would really be a benefit to us and we're pushing for it, we definitely want our sister organizations to step up and to help us support it too. So, or to oppose it, either way. So I'm very much in support of this. The things that the general manager are going to be able to do are very restrictive, and I totally agree with the issues on taxation or things like that. But and I think that needs to come to this board, the full board. So.
I'm also on the policy committee, and I supported this. We made one tweak, and that was to make sure that the board got to have a say, because they have constituents, and our job up here is to make sure we do what the constituents want. And I personally wouldn't want to vote for anything that was going to affect their taxes unless the full board discussed it and made the decision to go in that direction. Basically, very little else was changed from the original proposal.
What I would like to say, Director Malloy, is I would say that we probably get maybe 5 call to actions a year, Mary. There's really not many more than that. They're really only on certain ones that are, that there's a big thing that could happen to us, them taking away money from us. RDA, trust me, it's there sitting again, as we all heard again last night. So those are the kind of things.
Dwelling units.
Huh?
And the accessory dwelling units.
Yes.
Fees that they want
Yeah.
to eliminate.
Right. So I think, that we're only talking a few a year, but like Anthony said, their timing is just not how our timing is. And for us to call a special meeting or something like that, no, I would encourage the general manager, if she feels strong enough about something, either to oppose or to approve it, that maybe we would have with talking with the chair, maybe we would have a special meeting, but I just don't see that happening much at all. I would be real surprised. And a lot of call of actions may not even impact us, but we can support our sister organizations like fire protection and things like that we really don't get involved in. But there's the more letters and things that our legislative people hear from CSDA members is just more power that we have as CSDA.
The process has changed so much. The legislature is so much more active, and the nature of what bills say is so fluid. So when it comes out, how it's described often ends up being something very different. But a great example is this one about police action and use of force, and when it came out, it was completely different than where it finished. So sometimes when it gets to the place where it needs the public's input, we don't have a lot of time.
That's right.
Because the need to get in, and the way that process works is when they hear from voters, it really does matter.
It does.
So I think it's important, but I also like that you put the no without tax impact. So I think that's a good. So I'm supportive of it based on that. So.
Yeah. What is the mechanism that the board members will be kept in the loop as to what's going on when one of these letters goes out? Will we informed at the next board meeting, or will we be informed as the letter's going out or before it goes out?
I think we put in the policy it would be updated at the next board meeting. And if there was something that I thought that was really concerning, I'd send it out as the letter was going out.
Specifically under the last, I think it's item 9, and the procedure, all legislative positions adopted via process outside a regularly scheduled board meeting shall be communicated to the board of directors at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, either written or verbal.
I think that Director Malloy brings up a really good point. I hear usually on a weekly basis and sometimes within an hour of something changing. If CSDA and the other agencies have asked for it to be amended, a bill to be amended, they may amend it and it may just fly right back through, is what can happen sometimes. Would we have time to react to that? Mary wouldn't even have time to react to that. So, that's why I would, want to make sure that we feel comfortable with what she does, and I think we all know her well enough. And like I said, there's probably 4 or 5 a year. But, when there's 1,800 bills up there could, come August, we just never know what's going to happen. But we're dark in August anyhow, so, and I think that's, I shouldn't say this, but I think that's sometimes most special districts and other things are dark in August, and the legislative body is very active that month. So, we have a lot of requests in to amend bills right now, and I foresee that happening. So, do we have another call to action, Mary?
It wasn't a call to action, but more information regarding RDA and the potential of it, which is the bill they were talking about. Actually, it's the trailer for the budget they were talking about last night.
Right. And that's another thing that Mary and I provide a lot of feedback to CSDA regarding how something would impact us. Not that we are in favor of it or oppose it, but we provide them information on what the impact would be. I think I've asked you several times, Director Malloy, about what do you think the impact would be. So there are other ways that we get to CSDA with our recommendations and things too.
My question would be, and I'm in support of this. I like it. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm surprised it took this long to get this far, but I'm glad that we're here. My question would be, following up on what Elaine was saying, if the CSDA came back and asked for examples, that wouldn't be that we can give examples or something. I mean, that's really outside of this per se. But you can do that right now, right? If you don't need our help or direction for that, correct?
No, and I actually do that right now. I sit on a couple subcommittees. So stuff dealing with, sometimes with HR and or dealing with redevelopment. So sometimes I will get information from one of the CSDA representatives, legislative representatives, that will ask input of how they think this might affect our district, or wording of so that's happening right now. And they do that with about 5 different committees.
Like Elaine said, Elaine was up there this year with the people, and I've been up there in the past with Elaine. But it's always good to have examples how their proposal will impact our residents and taxpayers. And just for the people who may be watching this, there are a lot of bills that come through Sacramento where someone will have some idea or concept, and they're trying to fix this problem A over here. What they don't understand is by turning this knob and doing this, they've now set off a chain reaction, and there's 20 other things that are also being impacted, which had nothing to do with what their original intent was. But they don't understand the law and the full impact of what they're talking about. They're trying to tackle an isolated issue, but in reality, it impacts a huge number of districts and taxes. And when you start pointing out all these other impacts that they're not even aware of initially, then then we can go back and kind of fix that stuff up before being hit with all that stuff. It's easier to fix the problems up front than to wait for the law to come down and then start to complain about it after the fact. So, thank you.
I think that's one of the things that CSDA does such a good job of, that's why they like to get the feedback, even though something may not impact us right then and there, but they like to get that feedback of, if this happens, what does this do to you? And Mary and I have been pretty effective in getting information back to them. So, and they're good enough to ask. So, yes, I'm in full support of this. So.
I would just like to say that the board's always going to do what the right thing is for its constituents. We're not going to support another affiliated organization just in order to curry favor with them or to help them out or because we're expecting something in return. We're always going, if we send a letter out in support, it's because we feel it's going to be in the best interest of the citizens of the district. And I also fully support it. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the legislative advocacy policy as reviewed and approved by the policy committee.
I'll second.
Director Magner.
Aye.
Director Mishler.
Aye.
Director Malloy.
Aye.
Director Dixon.
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. Wow, this meeting's going fast. You can tell by how many times I've messed up on the agenda tonight. It's my turn to have a little say. Here's what I would like to talk about. The district, when you sit back, and I have done this, I actually have a hard time fathoming how well this district has done, even though they face many challenges and issues. The fires, water problems. I mean, we've had water problems now for years, and yet our parks, yes, we got some help with the rain, but our parks still look great. Somebody's out there doing a good job because unless they were, the parks wouldn't look as great as they do now. Does that mean they're perfect? No, they're not perfect. But I think we're better than just about anybody else out there. And I've had a chance recently, I think I said this last meeting, to drive around and look at parks. I went up to a park the other day that I rarely go by. And I was surprised at how good it looked. We're trying. Every single member on this board and every staff member that works at the district is dedicated to providing the very best in parks possible, and that again is reflected and self-evident by what you see out there. The other challenges, we have a lot of great people who work here, and in order to further their careers, sometimes they move on to bigger government entities. We've had that recently. But what I've noticed is it just seems to me that each time something happens and there's a little bit of negativity in our days, we bounce back and people step up and get the job done, and sometimes even better. So again, congratulations to all the staff. It's noticed. It's just not. I'm not just trying up here to curry favor or flatter you or anything. Anybody that goes out there and watches what this district's doing can see it. So thank you. I thank the board here. They're doing a heck of a job. I can't imagine anyone who could do a better job. B, Ventura County Special Districts.
We had the meeting last night, was well attended. We hosted at the senior center, and I think there was, 60 or 70 people there. A very nice crowd. And the guest speaker was the CEO or the executive director of LAFCO. And, he thought his speech was basic, but I think a few of us learned a few new things, and it was very nice to be our information to be refreshed and to things like that. So it went over very well. So want to thank the staff for supporting that and us hosting it. So next in August we will be meeting at the Goebel Center in Canale at their senior center. So. I guess we're doing the senior center hop, so but that's kind of nice. So, but that's it. So, you want me to do CSDA while we're here?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Mary and I attended legislative days. 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, Mary says. So I don't know where time goes, but we traveled to Sacramento. Had some wonderful guest speakers that spoke to us. We took on 2 or 3, I think it was 2 definitely, bills over to the Capitol building. Somehow she and I got left off of the visitors list, so we hopped on to a couple. We actually were able to meet with Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin, and I think that went extremely well. I think we all know her pretty well now, and talked to her very candidly about a few things. She looked at me and she said, "You can invite me down anytime." And I looked at her and I said, "I'll remind Mary of that." So she's willing to come down. I am going to a coffee that she's doing at the Coffee Bean in 2 weeks. So I'll talk to her again. But just because Mary and I go to those things doesn't mean that you guys can't make phone calls to her staff and things and discuss things. Some of the people went to see Hannah Beth Jackson. I don't think they actually got to see her, but they did talk with her staff. She has visited our, she's participated, I think, when we did the Nature Center opening, grand opening, and would be kind of nice to get her back down here too. But Legislative Days is an interesting concept up there, and I think Kyle and his group, the advocacy group, does an excellent job. So well worth our time.
Oversight.
No meeting last month, or this month.
You're up next, Santa Monica.
We did have a meeting. Well, it was an attempted meeting up in Thousand Oaks, and there were some technical problems during the meeting. We spent an hour and got about 5 minutes worth of data information done. So we're going to try again here later this month.
Finance.
Finance met on May 15th, as we usually do, and as I mentioned earlier, we're tracking right on budget and actually comfortably under on a number of expense items. So we're really close to the end of the fiscal year, and we look to be in really good shape on both revenue and spending in all funds.
Liaison.
We've been meeting, some of the members of the Liaison Committee, we've been interfacing with the Pleasant Valley School District, and I think we're making, from what I hear, good information, headway on that. You can maybe follow up on that.
I could comment on that, yeah. We are working with the school district on with them on placement of a field for the Miracle League, and it looks like we had a really good discussion with the school district on possible placement of a field on school property, which would be the school right behind the community center, which is what school? University Prep. And access would be through the community center, and so they would have access to our bathroom. So it's a very, very good cooperative approach, and it looks like it minimizes the impact of what might have been on the current baseball fields over at Bob Kildee. So I thought it was a really good meeting.
And then also we had a meeting earlier this while back with the architect, with the liaison committee from the city of Camarillo and us, talking about proposal, drawing up tentative plans, some proposals to how to add a senior center and gym to our campus over at the community center. Basically, they came in with 6. The committee picked 2 of them to continue on with for further development, and then told them to come back with 2 brand new ones. So there'll be 4 proposals, and I think we're going to see those tomorrow night. Is the meeting going to be in the auditorium or senior center? Auditorium? Senior center. It'll be in the senior center tomorrow. Senior center. So the architect will come back with those 4 proposals and give us more information and feedback on those 4 initial layouts. And the public, this is a meeting for the public to see them also, of course, and provide feedback and input. So there are 4 different plans. They're not all the same exact thing. So there's a range. We're trying to get a range of different plans.
Planning.
Planning is going to meet next week, right? So.
Personnel?
Nothing to report.
No meeting in personnel, did we? Okay. And policy, and we've already discussed policy.
We've already discussed it.
So foundation.
Oh, didn't I just shut up? I gotta say something else.
You can talk again.
I have a page.
Oh, no.
I'll be quick. The first and foremost thing is that the important thing is the upcoming 5th annual Party for the Parks. Please mark your calendars for Saturday, August 17th at Camarillo Grove Park. Get to see what it looks like. It's now open, and can't wait to see the trails, the bottom half of the trails. And we have caught Red Handed coming back to do live music, and I know they're very excited about coming back. Tickets are on sale now. Early bird is $100 a person until July 31st, and we have sponsorships available. So if anyone is interested in sponsoring, either with food or money or whatever, why, please get a hold of us. If you call the Park District office, why, you can ask for Megan and she will help you out, or you can contact me. Food Truck Fridays. We have 5 of them coming up, July 12th, 19th, 26th, August 2nd, and August 9th. We have Mr. Softy coming, Tiki's, I won't even go there, Shaved Ice, Hungry Belly Thai, Deli Doc, Famous Tacos, Cowboy John's Barbecue, and Middle Feast, and all of them are good. Painting with a Twist is November 14th from 7 to 9 p.m. And the last 2 years we've had it, it is sold out. So get your spot early. And I would like to report that our Eating Out fundraiser at Cronies, we cleared over $1,000. So Cronies is a good spot for us to go, and we all have a good time there. And Cronies is very they're very easy to work with, and we really appreciate them doing this for us. So, but big thing is the annual park Party for the Parks. So get your tickets.
I think that finishes off the committees. So I think the GM gets a chance to say a few words.
Okay, we'll give you a couple updates. Just with the community meetings, a reminder, tomorrow night we have the Senior and Community Recreation Facility. That community meeting tomorrow night, June 6th at 6:30. It will be at the Senior Center. Just an update on our Neal Ranch. We've had 2 meetings. The first meeting, community meeting, we had approximately 55 people that showed up, which was good. The second meeting, which was Monday, we had about 36. Anthony and I stopped out there today. They got another 30 plus just with the pop-up meeting today. So that's moving right along. The long-range planning, they will be coming back to long-range next week with some design options. And then we have another community meeting on June 15th at 9 a.m., and that'll be at the Senior Center to kind of go over the design options. So that's moving right along and at a pretty good clip. Parks, just a couple updates. Cam Grove is, I think I sent out to everybody, the lower trail is now open. Nick right now is working with contractors. I think you're meeting with him next week to kind of look at the upper trail to see what that's going to cost and get a contractor up there. The concrete work, if you've been out there, they put, the contractor that put it in wasn't the best job that they could put in. So what we're having to do is go back through it, do some laser leveling, and then also putting near stone on it to make it look appropriate. That's where also the playground will go. So what will end up happening is we'll come back in July with playground options. So that will be moving forward. Nancy Bush, if you've not been up there lately, the poles for the shade structures are going in. So once those sit and cure, it'll be about 2 weeks and the shade structure will go up. Pitts Ranch, we should be getting stuff back from Plan Check. This will be the 3rd time sent it over to the city. So hopefully that we'll get that back and that moving. It'll be about a month once we get it back and get that installed. If you haven't been out to Freedom, we're getting down toward the end. There's a punch list of stuff before they can hydro seed, so we're starting to move that ahead. So lots of stuff going on the park side of it. On recreation side of it, just a reminder that summer concert series starts June 29th. That's the first one. And then since our last meeting, we did have a site visit with Habitat Conservation Fund for the grant, so hopefully we should be hearing something back in the next couple of weeks regarding that. Other than that, I think Director Magner gave you some legislative updates. As she said, things are moving fairly quickly up there, so it's a constant forth and back and forth right now. So I think that's all I have for updates.
Oral communications. Anyone?
I'll start because I have a long list of meetings. May is meeting month. The 2nd and 16th, we had budget workshops. Arneal Ranch, we had meetings on May 28th and June 3rd that I attended that were really well run, really productive. May 9th, Doc and I did the liaison committee with the school district. May 15th was finance committee. May 22nd, Mike and I attended the city council meeting in these chambers on districting, which is really complicated and technical and pretty much impossible to follow on television. So it was a lot more easy to understand what they were doing being here. Did the Cronies fundraiser on the 14th, which was a lot of fun. It's not a restaurant I normally go to, but it was really nice. The service was great, and it was terrific, but not as great as the food truck event, which was I was stunned how successful that event was. We didn't have enough food trucks. We had people everywhere. I mean, it was for a first-time event. It was really amazing, and I made a really good command decision, and that was to not order from a food truck, to get a burger from the Lions Club, and not only were the burgers delicious, as always, they also donated 4 of the $5 that they charged to the foundation. And Institution Ale, which is running the beer garden, gave us all the money that we got. So I figured I spent $25, and I think the district's foundation got like 23 of it. So it was really, really a super setup for us, and a lot of fun for a lot of people. And then last night, I was at the VCSDA meeting to give the Treasurer's report and hear about LAFCO. And, I've been hearing about LAFCO for the 14 years I've been on this board, and never really knew that much about what they did. And I just learned so much last night, I'm sort of embarrassed. But they're really a really unique organization in that they're not a part of the county, and they're not legislative, and they're not elected. They're really unique because they're basically just put in place to settle arguments about who's in charge of what, and with a really storied history. And then tomorrow night's senior center meeting, I won't be able to be there because my granddaughter Samantha is graduating from Westlake High School, so we'll be taking pictures of her in her gown. So I'm sorry I won't be able to make that one. That's all I have.
You have anything, Doug?
Yeah, just real quick, I would, not to belabor the food truck event, but that was really a great event. And if there's anybody out there that has a food truck that was not there, there's a huge crowd, and you're missing an opportunity. If we have room for more food trucks, I'm assuming we do. And I wanted to say special thanks also to Institution Ale and to the Lions Club for their very generous donations. So that's it.
Oh, okay. I want to first say thank you to Elaine for traveling up to Sacramento, not only for legislation days, but she goes up there many times. I lost track. I don't know if she's up there every other week or something, helping the special district, our district, and other districts all across the state, working issues and stuff. So, I mean, it takes a lot of work. I mean, a lot of time and energy to get to the airport, go through all that hassle, fly up there and come back down. So it takes, not just the meeting, but all the time to go up and come back. Thank you for that. I also wanted to mention that Mark mentioned a whole bunch of meetings. I was at a lot of those. But the one I did attend 2 weeks ago was with the Pleasant Valley School District. A year ago, they had stopped televising their meetings, and I went to their board meeting about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, and made a big argument about having televised meetings again, and they voted 5-0 to go back to having televised meetings. So sometime this month, they'll pick an option. There's not very many options available here in Camarillo, but they'll pick their final option, how to implement that later this month. So they'll be going back to televised meetings. And then I just want to do a quick follow-up on the Ventura County Special Districts Association. I was there along with Elaine and Mark and Mary last night, but I'll be doing a geology talk coming up at the next meeting in August. I'll be talking about our local geology. So I'll bring everybody up to speed over the last 1.2 billion years.
Treasurer better budget for a low turnout that night.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I think it's important I want to tell thanks to staff and everybody, but the public needs to understand that, they may only see a tiny little facet of what we're doing here. But Mary went down a list of all these different projects we're doing. And we have our fingers in many different pies right now, playing around and doing all types of things. So, and there's things going on behind the scenes that you don't even see about, maybe, or even hear much about. I just want to thank the staff for all the different efforts and the things that we're doing, and things come up and change all the time at the last minute, but we're still making progress and headway. And hopefully later, the big thing I'm looking forward to, the biggest thing is some type of agreement with the city moving forward on the senior center / gym here in a couple of months, maybe. We're getting closer to that. I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you.
I've talked a whole bunch, but I have a personal thing, so I wanted to thank the staff for having a birthday party for me at the food truck festival. It was very nice. My family enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it, and I'm like Director Dixon. I want to thank the Lions and the Institutional Ale for supporting the Park District and the foundation. And it was if you missed it, you missed something great, because on a 3-day weekend, I didn't think we would have the crowds, but I couldn't believe the crowds of people. So very impressive, Eric. You did an excellent job with that, and staff. So it was very nice. Connor did a great job, and please relay that to him, because it went smooth and everything, so it was nice.
I'd like to congratulate all the recent graduates and those graduates who are going to be matriculating here in the next few days. If you graduated, you must have done something right. So congratulations to all of you. And that's all I have. Anything else? Gone.
You did well. You did well.